Welcome back. So, just made ourselves a big batch of pork butts. They're in the roaster. 14 hours from now, it'll be pull apart tender. I want to make a couple of sides to go with that. So, I always like to have beans, cornbread whenever I'm working with pork, personal preference. You do what you like again. So, I like to use canned beans. Black beans work, pinto beans, Great Northerns I'm using today. And then finish it off with a can of regular old Bush's baked beans or something of that respect, whatever you prefer. Somewhere down the road I'll also do a video on how to go about curing beans, boiling beans, lentils, and all of that as we get into legumes, but that's down the road. Right now we just want to make a simple batch of beans, put in your oven, slow roasted, good to go. Put some bacon and onions in this batch. You can use ham. You can use no meat whatsoever if you prefer. You can use onions, celery, pepper. Again, it's all personal preference. The key, I believe, when you're working with beans is you want to have very, very fine dice on your vegetables. Okay, I like to have them at least half the size of your beans. Okay? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drain off my beans. The blacks are up here just for demo. I like 3 to 4 different kinds of beans in normally, but I'm about the only one in the family that likes beans, me and my daughter. So we're going to go with a smaller amount. Got the Great Northerns going on, and I got the Bushes going on. So we're going to drain off all this nectar. Now, if you were making a bean soup, this nectar goes great in the bean soup. I don't care for it though. In the beans, it gets too wet. By the time I make the caramel, which is what we're going to do here, by the time I make the caramel, add that to this, and you got a lot of juice, a little bit of beans. So I'm going to drain this away. You're going to want to rinse those beans with some good cold water. Get rid of all that extra juice that's already on them that they're cooked in. Okay. Now, nutrition just went down our drain, but that's why I like to make a batch of bean soup out of the nectar. Personal preference again. Okay. I'm going to go about making the caramel. Set the beans aside. Those will drain in our pan over here, and I'll have a portable burner. You do this right on your stove if you're in your home. Just want to put on a little heat. Low heat to start with. You can always turn it up. You do not want to burn your butter. Okay, butter burns at a low flash point. So I like butter for flavor. You could use salad oil for this process. You could use avocado oil. You could use whatever you like. That's a lot of butter, so you say. It's all right. When I'm all done with the process, it'll balance out. I use equal parts of butter and brown sugar. You can use molasses. You can use dark brown sugar, light brown sugar. You can use sugar. You can use stevia or any of the sugar substitutes. Again, it's a matter of preference. I want to clean me up an onion to go with this. I take the tip of my knife and stick it into my onion at a 45-degree angle and then turn the onion. And the reason I want to do this is I want to have a lot of yield. Okay, I go and spend a lot of hard-earned money on my grocery bill, and I don't want to throw it away. Okay. In our home, we compost all of this. It goes out to the pile, let it go through deterioration. In the spring, we'll till it into our garden beds, and then we get all our own produce from there. Okay? Take off our skins. And then we're going to go through the process of dicing this onion up fine. Okay? All of that is going to go by. Okay. In my sink, I have my sanitizing water again. 1 tablespoon bleach, 1 tablespoon soap, about a gallon of hot water. You always want to clean as you go. You always want to sanitize as you go, okay? That way when you're all done with whatever you're making, it's a simple cleanup process. Wipe it down and go home, okay? Now we're going to bring out the big dogs. Go with a chef's knife. A lot of people buy all of this stuff already cut. Cabbage is cut, onions are cut, vegetables are all diced, okay? A couple of concerns for me is you've ruptured a lot of cells. You got a lot of evaporation when you buy pre-chopped products, okay? Some of those products are actually run through machines, which crush the cells rather than slice them. So I like to always work with fresh product. That way I know what my family is consuming, okay? I buy my cabbage in whole, go through the process to make it coleslaw. We'll slice that all up and shred it. My vegetables come in whole. You spend a good amount of your money, your dollars from on groceries, okay? Buying meats, buying produce, buying dairy. You want to make sure you maximize all of those products. You don't want them to spoil. You don't want to leave them in your refrigerator as a science experiment, whole mission behind it is to utilize all the product fresh, okay, that you purchase. The other thing I like to do is read labels. A lot of people don't read labels, okay? When I go to my grocer's case, and I always shop the outside aisles of the grocery store, I look for one item on the label, okay? If you buy yourself a bag of apples, pardon me, there was a label on it, it would say apples, okay? Same with carrots, same with anything else you buy out of the produce case. If you buy this stuff all chopped and ready to go, read the labels. Could be preservatives, could be additives, could be things in there that you don't want to feed your families, okay? So our onion is cleaned, peeled, high yield. Cut that in half. And I will do a video on knife skills and vegetable cleaning down the road. And I want to have a fine dice on that onion. Okay? Leave it attached on the end. About a third of it, maybe a quarter of it left attached. That way it all holds together and you got control. Okay? That onion ain't falling apart. And now, the more cuts you go north to south, east to west, the smaller your dice will be. Okay? Get to the end, just lay it down and cut it both ways and it's good to go in our pan. Now our butter is nice and brown. Okay? You want to smell that hazelnut flavor. Okay? Personal preference again to make the caramel. But once you hit the moisture from those onions get in that butter, the butter stops browning. Okay? Now if you were going to do celery, or carrot, or pepper, or whatever you like in your beans, you would add those in order for cell structure. Okay? Celery is the most fibrous. It takes the longest to cook. Followed by carrot, more density. Followed by onions, followed by pepper. Okay? Doesn't really matter the order, depends what you want to do with it. But if you want it all to come out nice and tender collectively, that's what you do. Okay? So, throw our onions in. I took the liberty of cooking off some bacon earlier, and I crisped it up in the microwave. Now in our house, we'll take a 3-pound bag of bacon at one time. We'll spend a Sunday afternoon while we're watching the ball game, put it in the oven every 20 minutes, go and turn the bacon until it's crispy. And we layer it between paper towels, and now we got bacon for the week for our breakfast. Now that we got it all under control, we're going to saute these up nice and tender. While that's getting happy, we're going to take our pan for our oven. We're going to put our beans in there, and then our caramel will go over, stir it through, bake it in the oven for about 35 to 45 minutes at 350. And when it comes out, all of those beans are going to absorb all of that natural caramel, that natural sugars, and you're going to have a very nice balanced product. Okay? Now I haven't added any salt to this. I don't have any pepper in here. I just have the base caramel. The salt from the butter, using salted butter, will impart that. And our salt and pepper shaker stays on the table. And that way, if you want to add what you like, so be it. You want hot sauce, so be it. We do the seasoning at the table. We infuse all of our flavor components in the dish. Okay? Great Northerns are here. We're going to add our baked beans to that. I always utilize my spatulas. Okay, stuck to the side of the can. Doesn't do your family budget any good again. And then we do all the recycling here at the house, but that's again personal preference. Alright. When you're making a caramel, your mission is to cook the sugar and infuse it into the butter, and it should turn into a paste at some point. Okay? At first it's going to look kind of oily. Just let it cook through. Let it cook through. As the butter evaporates out the moisture, and as the sugar starts to caramelize and the temperature rises within the sugar, you're basically making a simple candy. Okay? If you cook that to the point of peanut brittle, you can do that. Okay? So, onions is personal preference. They're going to cook another 40 minutes in the oven like I shared earlier. We got roughly a cup of brown sugar here. We're going to add that too. Oh my goodness, he's got bare hands in there. Bare hands are not an issue if your product is going to end up in the oven that's going to be cooked right away. Okay? You got roughly a 4-hour window from the time you get food at room temperature before it's going to be spoiled, okay, or have contamination. Your mission is to control the bacteria. So, my hands are clean. I washed it in that sink over there. Gonna bust up our brown sugar so it'll absorb the moisture in that from the onions and from the butter. And you're going to see this come together here in a second. Now, if you wanted to infuse a little citrus flavor in here, you could put a squeeze of lemon, put a squeeze of orange. Okay? You wanted to do something from an Asian bent, little soy, little ginger, little garlic. You can do all kinds of things from this. But again, I stress, whenever you're looking at a recipe, try it first. You can always adjust it after. But if you start playing experiment, putting the product together, oh, I like this, I add that, oh, I like this, and then it comes out and you're not happy with it, well, that's going to be on you, okay? Do the creating after you try the recipe. A lot of recipes, especially on social media platforms, give you a little blurb, but they don't give you a complete recipe. Complete recipe has to have components to it, okay? It has to have a title. You're looking up chocolate chip cookie recipe, chocolate chip cookie. Type it into your search engine, what have you, you're going to have a product come up. Then you want to have a list of all your ingredients you need with the amounts that you need for each ingredient. You shouldn't find those in the description anywhere in the procedure. The recipe will also have a step-by-step procedure to get you through to the end product. Some recipes even go as far as having equipment list. So make sure you look at a complete recipe before you start a process. Okay? You don't want to try to create things on the fly, if you will, unless you know what you're doing. So now we're going to take that beautiful caramel, and this is kind of good on ice cream except for the onion component. But if you were making a bananas Foster, it's the same process. The butter, the sugar, cook it down until it forms a caramel, add your bananas, what have you, put it on your ice cream. That's a very good product. My family will attest. We're going to stir this through our beans, and we're just going to bake it in the oven for the better part of 45 minutes. And then, should be able to sit down with that pork sandwich and enjoy. After 35 minutes in our oven, we have our finished baked beans, caramel onion glaze. Now, if you bake this long and slow, better the product.